You are now listening to the new Old Heads podcast, premiered every Thursday at noon Eastern Standard Time at BringDownTheBand.com, and brought to you by No Bad Ideas, Coleman Dental, Printfinity, Indie CD and Vinyl, and Sun King Brewery. Support the new Old Heads by visiting our Patreon at patreon.com/newoldheads.
You are now tuned in to the new Old Heads podcast. I am Major 7. I make pretty good beats. My new computer is working lovely right now, so I'm in a really good space. The gang is all here. My man Lonegevity, how are you, sir?
Doing all right, man. Can't complain.
So you got your whiteboard behind you with your ridiculously small writing on there.
Yeah, that you love.
I can't stand it.
Yeah, you know, I decided to go away from the green screen because I went a little crazy last week. So
Little.
You in a corporate environment right there. I like that. My man DJ Jay Diff, what's happening, man?
Salutations. What's up, good buddy?
Man, I can't complain. How's the baby?
She's good, you know.
Good.
Being 5 months old.
That's what's up.
Fine meeting. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Live from the bunker at Academics, my man Jay Board. What's happening, man?
You know, just another week in the can. You know, just trying to stay safe and stay healthy. I encourage everyone to do the same. No need to rush out there.
I see you got your beard going on, brother. You repping Philly now?
Yeah,
what's going on?
This is my playoff beard, man. I haven't. Okay. You know, usually I would. That's
repping Philly.
Yeah, that's
a luxury I afford myself. You know, when we could go outside, as I would, you know, go to the barber shop, you know, and get my beard trimmed off. You know, had me looking crazy Dominican out here, but that's not been a thing. So I'm just letting it do what it do. At one point, I hadn't shaved my head, you know, and I found out exactly how bald I really am.
It's the same as Mike's.
Yeah, I got see,
that was a shot. That was a shot, right?
I got the George Jefferson going right now, but y'all will never see it. I'm comfortable though. I came home. I'm gonna shave mine off, so I'm not trying to.
No need to like. Look, I remember I haven't been to a barber shop to get a haircut since like '99. Once I saw mine was getting ready to go, I said I'm not fighting this anymore.
Yeah, everybody
plus
talking
it's crazy when I went to like my 20-year high school reunion, because I used to shave my head in high school just because I thought it looked fly. That was a style.
Okay.
So people are like, "Oh, you look, you know, somewhat the same or whatever." I took it as a compliment, but they just didn't know like this is no longer a choice.
Yeah, it's over. Yeah. It's over. And we have a special guest with us today on this episode. You know, good friend, longtime homie. I'm trying to get a good list. Philanthropist, you know what I'm saying? He out here helping the youth. Incredible MC. Check the catalog if you think I'm lying. Just embedded in Chicago, man. Embedded in the culture. His brother's doing great things for our youth as he continues to bar people up on the sides. We are honored to have the homie Add-2 in the building. My brother, what's happening?
Yo, what's happening, man? I always appreciate the intros, man. Everybody be giving me titles that I'll be like, what the? Do I deserve that one?
Come on, man. Come on, man.
I was like, you sound like Batman or something.
Come on, man. Okay. You gotta do your people right, man. Give people their flowers, brother. You gotta give people their flowers. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think the title closer to it is more so like mentor. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I forgot about that part. Yeah.
That kind of involves like, yo, I'm giving out like thousands of dollars to everybody. All that.
Hey, bottom line, that boy is out here helping out a lot of people. I will say that by however you want to call it. My man is out there giving back and dropping jewels on a daily basis. So we are happy to have you with us, bro, for sure.
Absolutely, man. Glad to be here, man. All
right. So let's go ahead and get into it. It's been a crazy last few days, man. We lost, icon status level of people in just terms of the culture, man. Andre Harrell, 59, passed away. I believe it was due to a heart attack, from what I understand. And if you're involved in the culture, you know his importance, man, with Uptown. And, you know, if you start going down the list, you're talking, you know, Al B and Heavy D and the Boys and Jodeci and Mary J and, you know, Soul for Real, the Lost Boys. Like, you could just go down the whole list. Fam definitely was important. You know, like, if you think about him offering Puff the intern AR position and what that turned into from Bad Boy, like all that's his tree, man. So, you know, it's just unfortunate to see that. And then you follow it up with Betty Wright, you know, soul singer, legendary. Her first album, I think, came out in like 68, from like 68 to 2014. She had albums that came out. So I really was blown away by that. And then I don't want to say to top it off, but just to add to it or make it, you see what I did there, to make it even worse.
Like worse thing
he got the bars.
I mean, you know, it is what it is. But Little Richard, man, 87, passed away. I call him the king of rock and roll. I think we were on Twitch the other day talking about how they played him as a self-proclaimed instead of just saying that man is the king of rock and roll. I don't know, fellas. Like I don't know what to say. It's just tough because those are three heavyweights. Bottom line, however you want to look at it. I'll just open the floor up just to thoughts in general. I'll start with you, Ad. Like, just anything about any one of those people, if you got anything to say, bro.
Well, of course. I mean, I felt like it was a real rough week. You know what I'm saying? Just especially within like Black culture, man, because it's like on top of that, you had the Ahmaud Arbery situation still kind of lingering, and then here you have like three iconic people pass away all like back to back to back. And so leading into the weekend, it was just a really odd energy. But you know what I'm saying? Like, of course, Andre Harrell, there wouldn't be a lot of hip hop labels had it not been for Andre Harrell. You know what I mean? Like, even hip hop as we know it, you know what I'm saying? Especially East Coast rap. Like, if Andre Harrell doesn't find Puff, then what do you have? Like, you take that out of the equation. You know what I'm saying? Heavy D out the equation. What do you have within that era? You know what I'm saying? So, or even the idea of trying to merge those two sounds with R&B and hip hop, like that's another thing that's kind of beyond me. So, I was watching an interview with Andre and Puff, and like Diddy is like a really like what I want to say, like he's very confident in who he is. Whenever he steps on the stage, he's kind of like, yo, I'm in the light. I'm absorbing everything, all the energy, all the eyes on me. But when he was talking to Andre Harrell, it's almost like you see him get back into the stupid position. It's rare that you see people who he has that type of admiration for. We kind of see like he's still kind of like, I'm trying to prove myself to you. You know what I mean? And to think of this guy who, how we look at him like, man, he's conquered the world of music and, you know, entrepreneurship. And here he is with his mentor or his idol, his, you know what I'm saying, the person gave him the blueprint. It's just, it's insane. You know what I'm saying? But like, I enjoyed hearing what he had, at least like that admiration, that foundation of understanding that he gave, man. It's beautiful.
Yes, it's dope to see someone that established and accomplished to, you know, to see them humble themselves on the spot. You know what I'm saying? And just revert back to those, you know, those early days. That's actually a good point. He always showed a lot of, you know, he just always was so humble around that guy. And it tells you that it was genuine. Like I saw IG post with him, one of the speeches he was giving, and like the shit looked real. Like it wasn't, you know, he wasn't acting. Like fam genuinely, you know, had a, you know, affection for him and really cared about him. Jay Diff, jump in, man. You got any thoughts, just, you know, any one of the people or just overall?
I mean, of course, all of them, I felt them all in a, you know, a certain way, definitely. But with us being a hip hop, well, centered around hip hop, I'm gonna speak a little more on Andre Harrell, just based off the influence that he had on the generation before me and my generation, the generation to follow.
He got started. He got started with Def Jam, right?
Yeah, he started with Def Jam with I think he was an intern. He may have became like a vice president or some VP, and then he moved on to create Uptown Records, which was, I mean, that's a iconic record label in itself. For those that don't know, I mean, you had Heavy D,
Uptown, Heavy D, Vanessa Sinquez.
Yeah, had Mary J. Mary J. was signed before we even heard her. She was signed way back in '89.
Yeah.
and we didn't hear her till like 95, 96.
Yeah.
But she was behind the scenes. Then you had, of course, Jodeci.
Yep.
And for those that remember the iconic MTV Unplugged Uptown, y'all remember that?
Come on now.
Yep.
That whole CD, that whole just energy was something else. You know what I'm saying? And it's responsible for so much. I mean, Father MC, people leave him out. You know, Puffy used to be a backup dancer for Father MC.
On the low.
You know what I'm saying? It's crazy.
Hey, not even on the low. He was in those videos.
Bad haircut. And
Yeah.
And not to mention, Andre Harrell had his hand in the movie Strictly Business, New York Undercover. You know what I'm saying? For those that remember that on Fox, the police drama that always incorporated hip hop somewhere in there.
They had cold live performances at the end. I used to look forward to those joints.
Definitely, it was almost like you was watching a scene from Brown Sugar or something.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it just his impact in the culture of hip hop is definitely felt, and he's gonna be missed dearly. And not to underplay the king of rock and roll.
Thank you for saying that right, brother.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, that can go to him or Chuck Berry, honestly.
Thank you. Thank you.
But not to undermine him, because he was definitely an icon. He wrote for many people that still christen Elvis Presley the king don't realize who was penning all his hits behind the scenes. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you. Like Otis Redding was in Little Richard's band, his first band. Like, come on, man. Like his tree is stupid. You know what I'm saying?
And then on the soul, Betty Wright, you know what I'm saying? Another icon. I mean, we hit a trifecta as far as every music genre that we pretty much, you know what I'm saying, are a part of.
Mm-hmm.
We lost somebody this past weekend, so definitely give the flowers out to those guys.
For sure. Jay Moore, give me a minute or so. What you thinking? Just I know you.
Well, you know, when you talk about, you got to go through sections of Andre Harrell, because he actually was an MC with the group Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And you know, it's crazy. He tells a story, and it's probably, you know, something you could find on YouTube. Is when he saw LL Cool J, he said, "Okay, it's time for me to transition into something else, because like, you know, I'm at a point where I don't think I can compete as far as stage presence with this dude, you know, all these muscles with his shirt off. Okay, let me see if I can transition into an executive role."
Smart,
you know, and plus he had been around Russell. You know, if you watch the movie Crush Groove, Andre Harrell is in Crush Groove.
Yep.
And what really makes him special is you have to understand, there was a time when really R&B music, anyone involved with R&B, they looked down on hip hop. You know, so, you know, when you from the executives to the program directors at these radio stations, they look down on hip hop. When you talk about Uptown and the ascension of New Jack Swing, you're talking about a time when, okay, the music got younger, and we're not going to look down on hip hop. We're going to incorporate the elements of hip hop to make R&B more accessible to the hip hop generation. And that was a big deal, you know, to bring Heavy D in. But at the same time, when
Mary J's album was big for that,
you know, when there's the Christopher Williams, Al B. Shore, you know, these are people who didn't shy away from the hip hop connection. And, you know, because a lot of this was still based in New York, where hip hop was based out of almost completely at that time, outside of, you know, really just Compton, with WA.
Yeah.
So, you know, but then after he leaves Uptown, he winds up being the chairman of Motown, which wasn't probably the best move, because what they didn't tell him is that Motown was in a heap of debt at that time. And like,
that wasn't the old Motown.
You know, so I mean, they had Boyz II Men, but really that was the only thing they had. And so, and Boyz II Men wasn't happy with, you know, there's, like I said, there's an Uptown movie in the works through BT Productions. So the same people who were basically putting together the New Edition story.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that part.
Yeah, are putting together an Uptown story.
Oh man.
And then after that, like, people forget about this. He went on to form New America, which is he signed Robin Thicke. That's who, you know, his very first album.
Babyface was on New America as well, wasn't he?
I think I might have the label messed up. But I just do know when after Andre Harrell left Motown, or was asked to leave Motown, he went on to form another music group and, wound up discovering Robin Thicke. So his legacy in music is very long, and I don't think he's one of those guys, because everybody loves to talk about the Puffs and the Shugs and Master P, and like, really, if you want to talk about a guy who had his hand in everything and there's a legacy of music that we really cannot deny and is still basically in the clubs now, because now that we're that age to where, okay, we're playing, you still hear Soul for Real, Candy Rain, you can still drop a Heavy D, a Mary J, those Jodeci tracks, and they still go.
All those gonna go, all of them.
His legacy within I can't even say black music, but just pop music, really, because bringing that shine. He was the first guy to say, okay, we're going to dress this up a little bit. We're going to, the whole idea of ghetto fabulous. That's really something that came through Uptown, so it's just a big loss, and only be 59 years old, man. He still had things he was working on, and
Definitely.
he was the chairman of Revolt, up until the day he died. When you talk about Little Richard, though, that's a guy, he liked that he started to get his flowers at a certain point, but here's a guy that was put on by Big Mama Thornton, had James Brown in his band. When the Beatles came to America, they didn't want to, they wanted to meet Little Richard. That's this is the thing about the Rolling Stones and the Beatles. They have such a reverence for the early rock and roll and blues musicians. As wild as Keith Richards is from the Rolling Stones, he prayed at the altar that was Chuck Berry. If you ever see the Taylor Hackford film Hail Hail Rock and Roll, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
But Little Richard really was the innovator. He really, when you see how they tried to steal from him, with Pat Boone.
They did steal from him.
Yeah,
or
they
they tried to cover. They said, "Okay, let's cover his records." He said, "I'll sing them so fast that he just can't do it like me." And he was unstoppable on that piano. So that's a big loss. Betty Wright, the DNA of from Betty Wright through what happens in hip hop now, you still hear her voice and bass lines and vocal samples through a lot of hip hop. I'm gonna sex you up. Candyman. There's, and those are just two off the top of my head. If you probably really do your research, you realize there's a lot of hip hop that was sampled by, Betty Wright, that was sampled by hip hop. So, it almost can't be stated how big this weekend's loss was. And not even on a musical note, Jerry Stiller, it was a rough weekend for just celebrity deaths. So, if you don't know about it, research Uptown, and you're going to realize that basically the DNA of almost all of hip hop and R&B in the 90s goes through Uptown. So
yes,
salute to Andre Harrell, and rest in peace.
Long, put a bow on it for me.
No, you guys covered it.
We got it.
Yeah, you covered it to an extent. It's there's nothing
sad,
really else to say.
Yeah, I can dig it. Let's go into, because we got Ad with us. We were talking about, before we came on, we started talking about how things have changed, and I think we, over the past few episodes since we started the, Bunker series, we talked about going through the changes, things that are changing, how we're learning to evolve with the situations, and just kind of adapting to the new changes, whether that be career wise, creativity wise. We talked about lack of inspiration on the Ill Brown episode, for the artists. But I want to try to expand on that now and think forward, in terms of from a projection standpoint. And I'll start with you, Ad. What do you think? How do you think this is going to change from an entertainment or from an artist standpoint? If you put yourself into your artist bag, what the effects moving forward, what's your outlook? Do you have a positive outlook? Is your outlook more about, I'm going to have to adjust? How do you feel about, the next 2 or 3 months? How are you looking at it?
I'm actually kind of excited because I had always been kind of anticipating that there's going to be a dramatic shift in music, or at least the way we digest and consume things, right? And for the longest, it was like, okay, streaming was like the biggest change as of recent years. But I was like, we're due for something else. I didn't anticipate it being, you know what I'm saying, the dismantling of people gathering socially, right? It's like, and then what does that mean for not only, you know what I'm saying, independent artists, but what does that mean for major artists? How does that change the level of competition? Because that's kind of what the internet did at first. It broke down this level of mainstream and independent, right? It was like, all right, if you mainstream, you can be up here. If you independent, there's only so much attention that you can get. The internet kind of evened it out, right? So now what do you do when you take out concerts? Like those big massive festivals, you can't have those anymore. What happens when, you know, the mainstream of maybe like income turns into, you know, getting placements, getting, you know, syncs and licensing? What happens when that becomes the competitive field? So I'm very curious to see what this means for the entire musical community, because now, since nobody's performing, no one's really able to kind of have a true rollout the way they used to. You kind of have to adjust to what right now is, and we don't even fully know what the future is going to look like.
Right.
But now having to, you start to see it now. Everybody's on live now, which is weird. It's like, yo,
everybody.
It's about like 10, 15 people on live. And then I can finally check people's Instagram stories. So you see different artists are trying to find ways to engage. And I'm not too sure how that's going to translate to revenue, but that's going to be the crucial thing. It's like, how can they turn whatever attention that is to a substantial way of life? And if they can't, then you about to see a lot of people get desperate.
Sure. Yeah,
it's about to get ugly. If somebody doesn't stabilize it, then it's gonna be the wild, wild west all over again.
Yeah. Jump in, Lone. What are your thoughts about, just the projections moving forward?
No, that's a great take. I think it's forcing. It's I think what everything that's happened, and we've kind of talked about this in the past, has kind of forced people to be a little bit more creative in how they are releasing stuff. The people that had to be extra creative before, right? Because now that space is becoming saturated with people that already had a big fan base, right? So the people that weren't utilizing the live streams, or the people that weren't utilizing those things are now like taking that space over. And kind of forcing a lot of independent artists and stuff to kind of think about what's next and whatnot. You see it I don't know if you guys saw Mark Rebele, he's announcing a concert series where he's just going to drive-ins.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Like that's
smart
thinking,
though.
you know what I mean? Like, but to all these points too, one of the biggest issues that we've talked about in the past with the DJ streams was Instagram, and kicking people off, and Facebook and kicking people off, because these social media services weren't made for that. They try to monetize it the best that they can, nowadays with the digital watermarks and whatnot. I've known about this stuff for quite a while, running a YouTube page that shares music and stuff, but it's I think it's going to force the music industry to have to adapt faster, because it's so lethargic. It's getting people to understand the different ways that revenue can be made now, in the digital streaming era. For the last 2 years, I've been emailing artists and stuff that I've been sharing and sharing people's music. And I said this in the past, maybe on the show or not, but I mean, I'm sure I've generated between $25,000 and $50,000 for artists just by sharing their music on the Bringing Down the Band channel, because they have their music monetized through a digital fingerprint. When we upload it, it hits our fan base. Shouts to everybody that's watching. And that in turn gets that revenue turned around and right into the artist's pocket, So I think it's that type of fingerprint model needs to be adapted to social media applications such as Instagram, such as Facebook, such as Twitter, Periscope. Twitch is going to be coming soon. I'm sure of it, you know, because that's where everybody's navigating to, because they're getting kicked off of Facebook and Instagram.
Yep.
You know, we saw Mixcloud drop a beta service where DJs can go on and actually DJ and not get kicked off. You know what I mean? Like, I think the industry, you know, it is exciting to an extent. You know, like it's kind of a harsh like slap. You know, like, all right, now figure some other shit out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm curious where it's going to head. I think the digital realm and there's so much room for growth and positive change in it. I think it's just up to. I think that it's also a time for artists, especially, but also people around the music business to be especially cautious around people that are trying to take advantage of each other as well. Because now would be a time
that's tough. That's
for
tough.
people to kind of do that even more so. But stay educated.
Yes, sir.
Those are my thoughts.
Jay Moore, I want to come to you real quick from a standpoint of you doing a lot of MC work, you know, being out in the clubs and, you know, you're always out amongst the people. Your perspective may be a little different because now the places that you frequent, you know, if you some spots, I know you're in spots where it's 200-300 people. And, you know, what does that look like now? Is it 15 to 20? Is it under 75? Like what are your thoughts in terms of how that would be, you know, how that would happen or how that would change what you do?
You know, if the clubs open back up, people are going to be so ready to get out of the house. I'm not really worried about that.
Okay.
What's going to be interesting to me is how are people going to react to music? Because, okay, is it almost like, okay, when the clubs close, is it going to be stuck in time, or is that what they're going to want to hear? Are they going to want to hear, like, because I'm not sure what the vibe is, because for the past, you know, 15, 20 years, I've been in the club and seeing how culture moved in real time, you know, from when it was snap music to when, you know, trap got big, and seeing the ascension of artists like Drake and Cardi B and, you know, and as of late, the Baby and Megan Thee Stallion. Now, I'm pretty sure those artists are still going to do what they do, but like,
oh, for sure.
The music that's been released, okay, people just been listening to it in their houses. Like, how are they going to vibe to music when they come back out? Because you know what, you know, I've been watching people's live streams. I've seen, you know, DJs who were forced to basically play the game really show their skill and how incredible they are as DJs. You know, where they were kind of handcuffed. It's like, okay, because, you know, if you're going to play one of these big clubs, you know, there's only so much you can do. You know, you pretty much are playing for the people. I always say, like, playing at a big club, that's the Marvel movie. People come to see the explosions and to see things fly around. You know, when you know, if you're lucky enough and you get to DJ at a place like the Patron Saint, shout out to them, or of course Coaches, when you come to Take That Tuesday, you know, that's your art house film, you know, where you get to take more risks, and the people are willing to actually sit there and enjoy the actual art and the craft of DJing. You know, they're not just waiting
I wonder,
for
like,
explosion or car crash.
I wonder if there's going to be a shift, because with technology, we've seen this happen, and kind of it even kind of out of control at this point. You know, the fact that we've seen albums reduce in size of songs, turn to artists making EPs, to only putting out singles. Like, I wonder if it's going to reach a point where people are going to want full-length projects again. You know what I mean? Like, is the listenership going to change to?
I don't think they want that now.
I know,
you know,
that's what I'm saying. Like, is it going to get to a point to where, like, is this helping that, because people have more time to, you know, they're not out looking and trying to pay attention to the next single that's going to be hot, to show off, to, you know what I mean? Like, because that's kind of this weird. I mean, it's kind of a thing to where we've always been a city here in Indianapolis where people like stuff after it's hot. You know what I mean? And
right,
that's kind of a human thing. But I'm curious if that would change at all too, you know.
In my
I think
opinion,
it's gonna be. Go ahead.
as an artist, I think like it's kind of transition, and I think the days of the old, like the longer albums, it's kind of phased out. Even though I feel like I'm in that generation where I'm like, I want to give people like at least a hour's worth of work. Like I feel like I'm robbing people if I don't. But their tolerance for information is different.
So low.
It's like, yo, people are still, even if we're in this type of phase in quarantine or whatever it is, I still feel like people's attention span is still like this. Like
Not that big.
It might be worse, you know, to your point. It might be worse.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, because now people, of course, like with stuff like TikTok, like it definitely shows you like, yo, I just need to hear that first 15 seconds of that song, and I'm good. I don't even need to know the rest of it. There's certain songs I don't even know the rest of. Half the shit. Like I don't know the rest of the Savage song. I don't know. I just knew that beginning part. I just knew the beginning of that 𝗏𝗏 and 𝗏𝗏 song. I didn't even know 𝗏𝗏 was on it for the longest.
Me neither.
Me neither.
Yeah, I was like, Wiz.
Hey.
So I was like,
what was the last song that you heard that had 3 verses on it?
bam.
When's the last time you know, especially if you're out in the club
Without features.
you're like, oh, yeah, you're going to even get to a third verse. That's the thing about being out and about. Like, if I would tell anybody, if I was going to be featured on a song, you better put me on at least the second verse. If you put me on the third verse, they'll never hear me.
They'll never hear a word from you. Jay Diff, jump in. I know you was about to say something.
Well, I mean, it's just we're deeper into the matrix right now. You know what I'm saying? Is everything is online, so it's like, who's Neo? Who's got the answers for what's going on out here? I mean, this is gonna be a play it by ear type thing, or see how long this shit lasts. But as far as the music and stuff, like he just said, like Ad said, TikTok. I was gonna talk about that. You know, that's where most of the hits are right now.
Yeah.
You know, all the hits for this COVID-19 era quarantine is TikTok based. So
that's the new medium. Like,
yeah,
if you're a rising artist, you probably already know that, but you should probably explore TikTok.
yeah, you gotta, and that's how Drake kind of capitalized off releasing his latest album,
His dance,
by coming out with a TikTok song, which essentially somebody argued is he's really trying to tell you how to do the moonwalk, but everybody came up with this dance, him included. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. It's just something that's popular and it's fast, and everybody wants that microwave shit. And to our point, with everybody sitting in the house right now, they're constantly looking for something new to do. So nobody wants to keep doing the same thing, because now it's getting even more monotonous, because you can't even go about your daily life doing and listening to what you were doing. You can't move. You're in the same space. So you're constantly straight chasing something new. Like earlier today, I'm cutting the grass, trying to listen to some new shit.
Yeah.
And like I listened to some of E40's new shit just to listen to it.
Would it have 40 tracks on there?
No, actually his is real thin this time. It's like
what's that, 20?
It's like 5 or 6, I think.
Oh,
what?
Wow.
Yeah, but I didn't even make it through that. And I tried
that was a
to listen
single.
to.
He just released a 5-track single.
Right. And then I tried to listen to who did I try to listen to? Somebody I had no business trying to listen to in the first place. So I knew I wasn't gonna like that shit. And then I just moved on to listen to the shit I listened to. Like I listened to Terrace Martin the whole time I'm cutting the grass.
That's a new one that just dropped, right?
Huh?
He just dropped a new one, right?
He dropped a couple of new instrumental type joints.
That's a talented dude, man. That's
you know what I'm saying? But
boy.
That shit was fire to me, and I kept looking for newer shit from him. So like it wasn't enough.
Conscious conversations.
Yeah, it's like you chasing the high because you can't do shit else. But listen to some new shit or tap into something new. So I mean, I know it's gonna be interesting when everything opens back up. You know, with even some people are gonna hurry to go out and party. Other people are gonna be more reserved and maybe not want to do it.
I'll be reserved.
It may make these events a little more popping. Like if you're like, we're only gonna let so many people in and we're doing a pre-sale, you can sell out a ticket to your event right there, and you already know what it's going to be. Even if the people show up or not, you already got your bread. So, I mean, you can capitalize like that. It's just going to be a different way of moving, I think.
That's a good call.
Absolutely.
I didn't think about that. That's a good point.
I think we definitely have to plan for things to be different. You know, I would not expect normalcy, in my opinion. But
no, I'm with you. Those are all good points from everybody. Let's shout out the partners real quick before we transition. Shout out to Printfinity. That is Jay Diff's company he owns. Support your local businesses. You know, pay that man. Indie CD and Vinyl. We appreciate them as always. They provide wax for all of our raffles. You know, whenever we give out raffles for our Patreon or, you know, just anything that we do on the show, we even have had some signed wax from them in the past. So we really appreciate their support. Sun King Brewery, as always, it's our newest partner, but they continue to keep us laced. I see you, Jay Moore. I'm out of my product, so I'm gonna have to re-up. But we really appreciate.
There we go. We on that WeMac tonight. Get involved.
I see you.
You're good old WeMac.
WeMac. Okay. So we really appreciate Sun King and their contributions to what we do. No Bad Ideas. One of our first partners. They always keep us laced. I don't think anybody has any product. Oh, Jay Diff has product on from Printfinity and No Bad Ideas. So they always take care of us. If we were on our normal set, you would see backpacks, hats, all the stuff that we've been provided by them. So we really appreciate them. And as always, bringing down the band is the hub. Make sure you go to YouTube, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications so you can stay in tune with everything, new old heads, new music, clips from the show, foolishness. You never know what you're going to see. So we appreciate all the support. And again, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell for notifications. All right. So let's see. Jay Moore brought up this one. I was asleep, but I know this album very well. America's Most Wanted turned 30. Ice Cube. Very impactful album in my opinion. Shout out to the Bomb Squad.
You weren't allowed to listen to that album.
Huh?
You weren't allowed to listen to that album.
See, now before we came on, I asked you, I said, how you doing, man? Is everything okay? I didn't want to go down this road. And you was like, hey, how you doing, brother? And then you turn right around, you know what I'm saying? And
hey, I ain't gonna front. I wasn't supposed to listen to it either, but I did.
Me neither. But that don't mean, you know, you ain't do what you had to do.
Yeah.
You know,
I wasn't supposed to be listening to it. I got a dub of it from my man Byron, and
he dub.
He gave it to me at church.
Like a tape dub.
Okay.
See,
God is good.
Know what a dub was?
No, I know a dub, but I ain't dub that.
He's a dub. You paid $20 for something.
See, here you go, man. That black on black violence, I tell you. But the Bomb Squad, man, y'all know what it is with the Bomb Squad. They lace them. This album is powerful, man. You talking about potent, you know, meat and potatoes bars. Jump in there, man. Just on impact, bro. I know you're a Cube fan. I know it's in your DNA.
Actually, you know what?
Wait a minute.
I'm gonna just tell you to be the absolute honest. It missed me because.
Did you go back though?
Yeah, I came back, but it still was like it's when it initially hit. Of course, I was like, I'm born in '86, so
yeah.
You know what I'm saying. Like a lot of that missed me. I think most of my formative stuff kind of came through around the time when like Bone Thugs hit. You know what I'm saying? Like
I didn't catch it in '90 now when it dropped. I'm just saying. I feel you. I'm following you. We on the same page. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You know what I'm saying? Like I wouldn't be a perfect judge when it comes to this because it's like even when you come back and do your research, it's kind of like, okay, well, I'm kind of hearing it through a different lens. Right. And some of those records, like, of course, you know what I'm saying? I still love Jack for Beats. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many different spaces where I'm like, yo, I have a different respect for Cube, especially seeing the way he writes, his voice. Like, his voice kind of reminds me of some commanding, you know what I mean, Chuck D type stuff, like at certain moments. And, but I can, at least at this moment, you know what I'm saying? Like, I appreciate what it does, but I wasn't like, it didn't hit me the same way I could say, like, Reasonable Doubt hit me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could talk about something like that night and day. So I won't front and act like, oh, yeah, you know what I'm saying? America's Most Wanted was one of my most favorite albums.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? When it was. So I'm not going to sit up here and lie and be like, oh, yeah, fam, I was the biggest fan of this album. You know? Most rap niggas do. Most rap niggas be out here like lying about it. They be like, yo, fam, I was lying. I wasn't, and it missed me. So, you know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm not gonna front. I'd be lying if I told you I was there when it came out. I just know, kind of like what you're talking about, just from an overall impact standpoint. Like that's one of those. You know what I'm saying? But to your point, you are right about the actual lens. Whenever you try to revisit something that you weren't necessarily up on, Reasonable Doubt. Yeah, I can talk about that till I'm blue in the face because I'm more familiar with that album for sure. Jay Diff, jump in though.
I mean, it was it's Cube. It was his first time out the gate solo. You know what I'm saying? He had just left NWA.
Yep.
And I remember it based off my brother is 6.5 years older than me. So he was up on all that. So if he had it, then essentially I had it. And I remember like Saturday mornings listening to that type shit. You know what I'm saying? And just you could hear the this was more the militant style rapping and the black pride, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? Involved in the lyrics. I mean, he was talking some gangster shit as well mixed in with that. But
true,
when you got Cube, you had a equal balance of both. You know what I'm saying? And it was just, I mean, the production was dope. Like you said, Bomb Squad. He left West Coast producers, got with some East Coast cats that could have easily fit in on the West Coast. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Developing those sound. I mean, Cube hit 4 times in a row classics, and I'll debate you till I'm blue in the face on that. 4
in a row?
Classic album, 4 in a row.
Okay.
He didn't let up until what was that? War and Peace. War and Peace was first volume was okay. Then
that's a double. It's a double CD, right?
No,
Yeah,
it was 2 volumes.
2 volumes.
They put it out at different times.
It was a double CD, and then it was another volume too.
Okay, that's what. Okay.
Is that right, or was it War and One?
No, it was called War and Peace, but they didn't put them out on the same day. But they came out I think 6 months apart.
Okay, yeah.
that
second one was terrible.
Okay.
But Cube is, I mean, it's Ice Cube, man, and then he had the elements of. I mean, you felt like you was on the West Coast when you was listening to it. You know what I'm saying? It had the funk mixed in, that good Parliament, funkadelic samples, all that good stuff. So I mean, it was a great time in hip hop.
I'm not mad at it, man. Cube, I think sometimes Cube gets played when you talk about, ranking is subjective. We know that. It's all about opinion. However you want to look at it, you lay the criteria down and you go from there. But I thought it was dope on Nick Cannon's radio show. He was talking to Rick Ross. And Rick Ross was like, if you don't have Cube in your top 5, like, I don't even know if I can respect your list. I was like, what? And he was dead serious.
He don't like my list.
Cube dropped a diss track against NWA that they never responded to.
This is a fact.
Like NWA basically ceased to exist after that.
Yeah, I think when we did our list, Cube was in the top 20
maybe. Let me look. I'll look at it.
Yeah, I want to say top 20. But no, to your point, he did just the whole crew and everything was cool after that. Like we ain't hear nothing else. So down the road, but you know what I mean. Like they ain't come back and get out of pocket because fam did what he did. So I thought it just was interesting to hear Rick Ross be so adamant about Ice Cube. Like that caught me off guard. Like
23rd.
I mean, a lot of people's first introduction to Ice Cube was Boys in the Hood. You know what I'm saying? They had never even heard nothing from Ice Cube. So they know him as Doughboy. Yeah. And then that kind of led them down the rabbit hole of figuring out who Ice Cube was. To see that, I mean, he was playing a role, but he grew up around that type shit. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, 100%. 100%. If I had to pick an album, I'd probably say it'd be between The Predator and probably Lethal Injection if I was to pick between.
Which album have a tiger on it?
The Tiger.
With America's Most Wanted, like people have this is the crazy thing. Initially, Cube wanted Dr. Dre to produce it, but Jerry Heller said no, because of course he didn't sign the contract that everybody else signed, and so there you got to understand. So everyone thinks they were just immediately on bad terms after Ice Cube decided he didn't want to sign the contract that was basically the jerk contract. And I think he tried to holler at somebody else and just happened to run into the Bomb Squad and Chuck D, and they wind up producing the most of it with some additional help from Sir Jinx, somebody else who doesn't get a lot of love when we talk about producers. Definitely. What made that album? So first of all, what's crazy about that album is everyone seems to think they have in their mind that Illmatic is the first record to get the 5 mics in the Source, but that's just not true. In fact, America's Most Wanted got 5 mics. And this is when 5 mics in the Source still really meant something.
I thought it was Illmatic. I stand corrected.
Yeah, Cube had
I thought it was
so
Benzino's.
much in that record from just the wild, America's Most Wanted, JD Gafflin, just from the skits. And he was getting into his political bag because, of course, you can't hang out with Chuck D and not have a little bit of that. So Tales from the Dark Side is an incredible record. He had some silly shit on there with Gangster's Fairy Tale.
Who's the Mac was fired though. That video is funny.
Who's the Mac? Of course, the one that it was crazy. This was a song that got heavy rotation in St. Louis. Was Once Upon a Time in the Projects.
That's the first song I memorized off that album.
Yeah, and it's crazy. This is when a clean version and a dirty version, this is what they did with NWA. They completely rewrote the song. So I remember hearing the radio version and then being shocked when I heard the version on the album because it was so different. And and the thing is, I remember all these things happening because I think I was between 12 and 13. So I remember when Pump It Up would be on real late at night, and there was a syndicated show. Shout out to this show called the Hip Hop Countdown and Report, and it would come on 11:30, 12 o'clock on our R&B station because that's where they put all rap music at that point. As late
St. Louis, right?
This is St. Louis on Magic 108. And the thing is, I would listen to, and Cube would be. It seemed like he was always a guest, or they were always talking about Cube, and he was the dominant force in what I like to consider what I think is just a part of that golden era of hip hop. And when you go back and listen to that album, he doesn't take any bars off. This is for him to say go from a group and within a year say, okay, I'm going to do this all by myself. Other than okay, he's got a verse from Chuck, he's got a verse from Flavor Flav and from Yo-Yo, who he introduced us to, and that's it. On an album that's a good hour long, it's just legendary. He deserves to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame by himself for his run of solo albums. So shout out to Ice Cube. That's an album that I still run pretty regularly.
Cube is
I'll play that and America's Most Wanted, back to back.
Yeah, Cube definitely deserves to be up there on those lists, man. Just off impact, off of GP. I'm glad we had him around the 20s, though. I couldn't remember. So shout out to Lone for saying that. Let's see. For saying that he was on number 23 on our list. I knew he was on the 20s.
Yeah, 23.
Yeah. So I'm glad he was up there.
Yeah, I'm not even a huge Cube fan, man, only because similar to what Ad said, I had to go back a little bit, and by the time I got hip to him, he was acting. So I mean, I respect that. I'm.
I mean, some of y'all didn't know about Cube till we be clubbing. So when you hear those first 2 Cube albums, there's nothing we be clubbing-ish about. America's Most Wanted.
Yeah. That's a terrible reference track.
He said a reference track. I feel sorry for people who got introduced to Ice Cube through We Be Clubbing, and I like that record.
That dude, hey. Jay Diff said that's a terrible reference track. Now that's funny.
Yeah, I mean, if that's how you envision Ice Cube rapping,
yeah, that ain't it.
Yeah, I mean, there's some people that envision they don't remember the Boys in the Hood and and Friday. They seen them in the what was the kid movie?
Are We There Yet? That Cube. Yeah. It's cool. Cube.
Or they might know Cube is Mr. Fun Guy from Friday and All About the Benjamins. They don't know this dude was it was illegal to show a pic. It was illegal for there was actually a law in Wisconsin where like you could not show Ice Cube's picture in like record stores and stuff because he was such like he was a scary cat at one point too.
He was
the
a menace to
establishment.
society.
Go and listen. Go listen to Death Certificate, and you'd be like, "Whoa!"
All I know is
never could happen today.
We Be Clubbing is the worst reference track ever. I'm with that.
I wouldn't say worst reference track ever, but as far as Ice Cube's track, if that's what we got to go with.
All right,
cool.
so check this one out, man. I tried this on social media platform. I just messed around, and I got some very interesting answers. But Add-2, I'm coming to you because I'd be very curious to hear what you say, and then I'm coming to Lone next because Lone didn't give me what I wanted on my original post. Give me some underrated or maybe a couple underrated producers in your opinion, and why. And you don't have to be elaborate. You don't have to, just give me a couple dudes that you think don't get the peas that
you can
deserve.
absolutely be elaborate though.
I mean, if
he's on
30 minutes, I guess he said we got time. Go ahead.
I think it's good just to give like hot takes straight off the top of the dome.
I'm trying to see where you coming from, bro.
Knots for one.
Yes.
I think like on a worldwide appreciation type level, I don't think people really fully appreciate that man catalog and really understand what he do with beats. Like he's a machine when it comes to that stuff.
Shout out to Pray for the Poor.
Yeah. Oh man, dude, he's on.
Come on now.
Up,
Come on now.
But but his output as far as just stuff is crazy.
He made like 1,000 beats in 1 year. Like
easily.
He's like stupid.
I guess like I don't know if like, 'cause I mean, of course I'm starting to see it now.
Okay.
Kind of happen with Alchemist. Like Alchemist is starting to get his due now. Like it's weird because at first a lot of Mars didn't really appreciate him for what he was doing, but now it's starting to kind of come up and people are starting to kind of like appreciate what he's been doing. But I still throw Al up in that same category.
Okay.
I'm gonna put my man's Crisis up in it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because like, man, Quiet as Kept. That dude is the best one over there.
Yep.
So,
hey,
you know what I'm saying? Like
you're gonna find no debate amongst your peers here.
Yeah, no argument from me, brother.
No.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm trying to think of somebody else I could name who.
Give me one more. I know you got one.
Man.
Who?
I said Black Milk.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. Like I think he's like kind of very subtle. He does what he does, and he's not in the way. He's not overhyped. You know what I'm saying? Like him and Odyssey are kind of like in that same vein.
Yeah.
Ooh.
They're incredible at what they do, but they just don't get hit up for a lot of stuff. So, you know what I'm saying? Whenever they do, I love it.
Yeah, I agree with all those.
Talk to me, Lone. Give it to me.
I feel like Alchemist has started getting. It's interesting. Alchemist is starting getting a lot more love since he's started becoming more simplistic too. With doing the stuff with Griselda and them. It's kind of like I can't even really say like boosted or like had a resurgence of his career because he's always been active. But it's like all of a sudden his name's popping up a lot more. Oh man, this is I feel like we've had this conversation a million times, but there's it kind of depends on like how deep you want to go, man. Like, are we talking about like main big producers who don't get a lot of love? Or are we talking about like people that aren't unheard of? Like Knots is one that we always talk about, Mike, so like for you to say Knots first, it's like, yeah, Knots is probably the most underrated producer of all time, or he's definitely up there. Just especially because he's a producer's producer. But Jake One is up there for me. Definitely. You said Crisis already. I think in the thread I threw an obscure name out there. There's a handful of obscure names, man, like Astronaut, man. He did a lot of work with Jamal Buford and Majestic Legend and those cats from Michigan, the Black Opera. But also a lot of he's really crazy dope. Ill Mind was really slept on for a very long time. I feel like he's kind of starting to get his due.
He's dangerous.
Right now.
He's dangerous.
He's one of my favorite producers. But then, like, you kind of think around to like people like to me, 𝗀𝗲 is one of the most talented producers that I know, and he's extremely slept on. So
Preach.
Slot, man, this list could go on forever though. So yeah, those are kind of a few of them. But I'll say, I don't know, who did you expect me to say?
I honestly, if I'm being all the way 100, you always give me that one, or give me one or two people that I'm sleep on or I'm not aware of that allows me to go back and do research. So that's why I always get excited to ask you those questions, because I know there's going to be one, like you said, you put me on the Black Opera. So the guy that you said first, is Astro? How do you pronounce it?
Astronaut. Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't actually heard him produce anything in a minute though, but
that makes me want to go back and do my research now.
Yeah,
so that's why I like having these conversations, because I'm trying to learn too. So if it's anybody I'm sleep on, I want to go do some research and listen to some heat. I got time. So yeah, good looking out on that though. Those are actually two dope lists.
But you could also say Pimp C. You know what I mean? Like you could say like big name people, that a lot of people just don't pay attention to. So
yeah, long live the pimp. Jay Diff, give me a handful, 2 or 3. What you got? Just people that are slept on.
I think when you initially made that comment, I posted Q-Tip and Rick Rock were my 2 entries into that fold. And like for those that don't, everybody knows who Q-Tip is, but they don't know him for his production. You know what I'm saying? A lot of that production that was going on in that house.
Talk to him.
He was influenced, heavy influence in that. He was in there digging for records too, just as much as what's my guy's name? The main producer for Tribe. DJ.
Shaheed Muhammad.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And Dilla. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the Dilla stuff, people might have thought it was Dilla and it was actually Q-Tip. You know what I'm saying?
That's tough.
And then Rick Rock, for those that aren't familiar with him, he was heavy in the group Federation, which is a Oakland-based group. But I mean, he produced for Pac. He produced for I want to say E40. A lot of people that you wouldn't even expect if you wasn't looking at the liner notes. Rick Ross produced it, and it's a heavy West Coast kind of East Bay sound. You know what I'm saying? It's really dope though. Like for those that aren't familiar, check him out.
That's what's up.
Got another name. 88 Keys.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't he produce Thieves in the Night off Black Star's album?
I'd have to look it up.
That's one of my favorite songs ever. Let me look that up.
I'm not gonna get the line, but you might be right. Jay Moore, give me 2 or 3, man.
Just going old school, but this is before hip hop was super producer driven. Larry Smith. I don't think we can mention his name enough.
Yeah.
He did like the records. I mean, everybody thinks it was just Russell and Rick Rubin that did all those early Run DMC records, but it was Larry Smith holding that down. And but he also would do, Houdini, which stylistically was so much different than Run DMC. So, definitely him. Just a guy that was one of my favorites. He really kind of stopped producing at one point. This guy named Sean J. Period. I always thought he was dope. I got to show St. Louis some love. My man Black Spade. He's
for sure.
Consistently making heat for more than a decade. I don't feel like we talk about Easy Mo B enough.
Legendary.
When you talk about a guy that produced classic material for both Biggie and Pac in the same era.
And Miles Davis.
Yeah. Battle Cat.
Oh my God!
West Coast.
Oh my God! One of my favorites, man. One of my favorites.
And one of my favorite producers, Diamond D.
Yeah, Diamond D
sir.
For sure. Or Large Professor also out of all that whole crew from like that era. Large Professor. I mean, he gets his respect, but he's not quite as much as like Primo or or Pete
Pete
Rock.
Rock. Yeah.
I tell you, for me, and it's crazy that I posted this on the thread, but for some reason, after the fallout and not fallout, but the responses to the verses, I left Manny Fresh and Scott Storch thinking, after I saw like people clowning and stuff like that, I'm like, people really out here disrespecting Manny Fresh. Like, you can tell the story of hip hop without mentioning Cash Money and Manny Fresh. It's not possible. Like the fact that Manny Fresh could be possibly slept on confuses me. Like, I don't understand that. And if we wanted to talk, we were talking about, Lone mentioned, OGs or just people that are unknown or people that are underground or whatever you want to call it. I would have to say my homie, Tall Black Guy. Like, fam is a genius. If you really look at it and think about it from a production standpoint. Like, when you get a chance to see it, it's like, yo, this guy's different. Like, every once in a while as a producer or an artist, if you paint, you take photography, you take photos, whatever, when you get around certain people, you get a chance to see it and go through the process, you're like, this is different. You know what I'm saying? And that brother's talented, man. He's a talented dude, man. So there are people out there that I think, that should just that are slept on sometime and should get a little more love. But the concept of Manny being slept on, I don't quite understand that, because
I didn't see that on my timeline. That must be your whack ass friends.
It could be, yeah, it could be, and it could be, but they definitely whack if they come to that conclusion. That's a fact. But nah, man, like, I'm like, you can't stop disrespecting Manny Fresh, bro.
Your whack ass friends.
It's cool. But if we go on Facebook though, we probably got like 80 something friends in common. But I'll take the whack 80. That's cool. Don't worry about it.
I mean, but if you got 1,000 some friends and we got 80 in common, then I mean,
I just guessed 80.
Is the other ones?
Yeah. Terry, don't worry about it, bro. I'll take the whack ones. It's cool.
Yeah, what about Soulja Boy? Is Soulja Boy slept on?
And what?
As a producer?
All right. So
A-Rab was on deck and we never heard from him.
Hey, but on the low though, Soulja Boy is in the story, but knock it off. You know what we talking about. Don't do that.
They came in, I jumped out. Pow, 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 pow.
Hey, the jury was making noise. It sounded like Dollar Tree jewelry. Like, he was like, pow, pow. All you hear was clink, 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 clink. I'm like, fam.
Hollow as shit, hollow bones.
Yeah, man. Smash against my hollow bones. Shout out to Rick. All right. So did I leave anything out, you brothers? Did I miss anything? Something on anybody's mind? What we got? Lone? Did I forget something?
Can't hear you, Long.
Yeah, you sound I can't hear you, bro.
How do I sound now?
There you go.
Okay, there we go.
Am I good? All right. Yeah?
Yeah.
Crackly, but you good.
I'm crackly. Hold on.
Yeah.
What about now?
Long as you don't touch it, I think you good.
Right. Yeah, this is a janky piece.
Yeah, you're gone again.
You got again.
Uh-oh. Your robot game is high. Uh-oh.
No, you got out of the way.
Yeah, you out of there now.
Yeah. You might want to get another bad wire there.
Yeah. Talk to us now. We need you.
Am I here now?
Yeah.
Okay, we can hear you now.
Yeah. All right, cool. I was just going to say, we have Add here, and he just dropped an album called
yes. I definitely was coming to that. I just wanted to make sure there was nothing else that I forgot.
So the first thing I'm going to say on that, when I talked to Slot about this, you got the joint called Homecoming, where the dude is screaming on it. And I thought that was Slot. And I told him that, but it turned out that it wasn't Slot, and I was definitely wrong about that.
Yeah.
But I was listening to it, I was like, man, this sounds like Slot being extra
you could have told me or Alone that was not Slot. We had this conversation. I said that has to be Slot.
I didn't agree.
I was with Lone. I thought it was Slot. I 100%.
You got an alias out here doing hooks.
Nah, there's a certain timbre in this man's voice is a little different. You know what I'm saying? Like, Slot a wild boy too. And it's crazy because Slot, the reason why I think y'all probably feel like it sound like him is because Slot wrote that hook. That's the only hook.
Yeah, that's what he told me.
Okay.
Like, so he was in a moment, and my homie W.Ill, you know what I'm saying? Like, he came through, and I was like, yo, this song is so hype. I would much rather you do my ad libs for it. And he was like, "Hey, big bro, whatever you need, I got you. I'm gonna do whatever you need me to do." And I was like, "Yo, all right, go ahead, just do your thing, just you know what I'm saying, whatever you want to do, go ahead and have fun while out." And we didn't have anything in place for a hook at the time.
Yeah.
And Slot was just in the moment. He said, "Yo, do something like this." And Slot is always, if you ever watched him work in the studio, bro will just think of stuff off the top of his head.
Mm-hmm.
Very involved. He's probably the most musical person I know. Like the only person I know who could make the beat, write the song, write the hook, engineer the song, DJ the song. Like that's the only person I know is like a one-stop shop when it comes to everything.
Yes, sir.
And man, he knocked it all out, bro. Like bro killed it, and he brought the energy to it. It made me feel like it was almost some P. Pablo type stuff.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He brought the energy that it needed because I wanted it to feel like, you know what I'm saying, like you know what I'm saying, HBCU type vibe, like, you know what I'm saying, the big band, you know what I'm saying, like at the classic or something like that. So that's what we wanted, and that's the vibe that he gave.
Yeah, man, this album, we've talked about it, back when it came out, and kind of went through it, but it's very powerful, man. Like 3/5 for me is probably, if that's not my favorite, it's probably top 2. For you to get into that space and actually go there, production was laced. I could hear it in your voice as the song progressed. Like I'm like, yo, he's really into this. Like as it got closer to the end, and I'm just like that joint stood way out for me. Like I know it's early in the album, but I was like, yo, if this is where he is now, what else am I about to listen to from here on out? You know what I'm saying? Because I had sat all the way up in my seat by then, like, oh shit, here we go. You know what I mean? Like I love that record, man. Like where were you in, like what space were you in, bro? Like did you just zone out, or was it inspired by a conversation? Like what, where were you with that one?
Well, a lot of those songs, especially that one in particular, it was inspired by like what was going on at the time and my frustration of not hearing that reflected in the music. Like I felt like I was watching society and I'd be like, man, I feel this anger when I'm watching what's going on and I'm feeling this frustration, but I didn't hear any songs that reflected that. And so it made me even more frustrated. And so, and I was like, well, where is that space of being like jaded? Where is that space of feeling like, yo, you know what I'm saying? We're treated like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's two different societies. Like that's what the whole album is basically about. It's like there's two different like societies that they're trying to tell us. It's like, here's the real world. And then, you know what I'm saying? But here's the dream, the American dream that they sell. And it's like, yo, my experience is way different than this. And you're not even acting like it exists, like it's a legitimate thing. So, but I wanted to try to tap into that. So like every time when I kind of had like, I was waiting for songs that had that vibe, that could tell that story, that, you know what I'm saying? So when I heard the beat from 𝗏𝗲𝗱, it was just mostly just like a bass line. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just that doom, 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 doom. And then after that, I was like, yo, this gives me everything I need. And you know what I mean? Like that leaves it like, especially like when beats have too much going on, it ain't too much for you to do or say. But when it captures the feeling of what you need and it's almost like a score, it leaves so much space open for you to just say what you need to say and not hold any punches, not be so distracted by what's going on. It's just like, yo, I could tell the story straight and, see what happens when everybody hears it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And a lot of the production on this album has that too. It's very has a lot of space for you to kind of get what you want to say out. That's one of the first things that I noticed. It's very, very cohesive in that sound. So
for the people that don't know, because we've been talking about the album, we haven't even mentioned the name of it for people to check it out. Add-2 dropped, to me, one of the best projects of last year. Was on my top in my top 10. But it's called 𝗏𝗲𝗀 the musical.
I actually said it 8 times, but y'all didn't hear it.
No, I heard it long. I heard it. I was gonna let him cook though. It's all right. It's all right.
You couldn't have heard it because his mic was dead.
I know.
No, he said it. He said it before his mic went out. He said it before his mic went out. Don't do that.
You just heard 𝗏𝗏𝗀 coming from me.
Yeah.
Go ahead, man.
Mike lying.
You got a bad attitude, brother. You got a bad attitude.
He's just a liar.
I don't lie, man. I heard him say it. Go ahead with your point, man. We gotta get out of here.
You always mess up my point. But anyway,
Purposely sometimes.
It was a solid album from front to back for those that don't know and that need to get hit. The message was there. I had one qualm with your project, and it really ain't a qualm. It was just I seen the featuring Fonte.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought I was about to get a verse from 𝗀𝗲𝗄.
Man.
And the song is still good. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
No, okay. So, all right. So there's all right.
I need to know, man. You gotta tell us, man. We need to know this.
So, Tay has been like my big bro since I think I first met him when they came out to Chicago and performed at some spot up north. I forgot what it was, but he's been always giving me life advice, and I never wanted to kind of like step on that space because like even with Common, I don't do that either. Like I would love to collaborate with him, but it's like I know once you step into that space, the dynamic of the friendship changes. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes they be like, "Word, all right, well, I knew you was gonna ask for a verse anyway. All right, let's go ahead and get this out the way," type of thing. Or they can hear one of those songs and be like, "Yo, I want to be on that," and I'd much rather that than anything. Originally, I wanted him to be the narrator, like of my last album, like a Pray for the Poor. I wanted him to do the narration of that, and that didn't really pan out. And then when I reached back out this time, he was in the space of doing the Little Brother album, and so I was like, all right, I can't get in the way of that. I'm definitely like I'm already sworn to secrecy. I'm not even supposed to know that this is supposed to happen, and I'm in the process of hearing they what they doing. And so instead it was like, all right, how can I kind of like, almost like how Kanye used to do for College Dropout, where he was like, yo, I may just need your voice for this. And this would help set the tone for this. Like, you know what I'm saying? So as much as I would have wanted him to sing a hook on it or maybe write a verse on it, I was like, well, what's the next best thing that I could get where it doesn't interfere with his creative process and where he's at? And I could still kind of like get this level of I don't know, like this character, like this narration, this world building stuff that I'm trying to do. And I was like, yo, I got this quote that I love from James Baldwin. You know what I'm saying? And I sent it to him. He was like, yo, I'm gonna just do it several times. And he did it like felt like about maybe 13, 14 times and just sent it back to me. He was like, yo, bro, let me know if you need me to redo it. And I was
That's
like,
love.
no. So yeah, him and I wanted him and Common were the only two people who I really kind of was shooting for. And Common was supposed to be on there was another skit that didn't pan out. He was supposed to be this character called like Brother Incense. And so like, yeah, man. So that didn't quite work, but yeah, he told me he was gonna try to do it, but yeah, it didn't quite work out.
Yo, looking at the track list, I'm not gonna hold you. When I saw the track list, I was like, oh my God, please let this be what I think this is gonna be. Still dope to Terry's point. But when I initially saw it, I was like, oh my God, it's about to be some bars on this record. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I was excited, brother. I ain't gonna lie, man. And shout out to Ill Brown, man. The homie did the engineering, man. That's one of the homies. Good. He was just on the show a couple episodes ago, so he did his thing, man. The shit sounds amazing. To Terry's point, definitely top, whatever you want to call it, of the year for the releases, man. Like shit was amazing, bro. You put your foot into it, man. Well done.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate that.
Well done. Do me a favor before we get out of here, man. Shout out how people can get in contact with you, IG, whatever. The floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, man. Definitely hit me up on Twitter, Instagram. Everything is Add-2 the emcee, ADD the number 2, 𝐊𝐴. And man, like, of course, support the record, 𝗀𝗲𝗄 the musical. We just about to release it on vinyl as well. And what else I want to say? Support my mentees, man. Like, is in Chicago, man. I'm really, really big and really adamant about helping the youth, man. So I have a group who I mentor. It's called like Haven Studios, and man, there's a lot of young rappers, MCs, and producers and engineers who just like, we just want to give them the resources that they need. So I'm adamant about like helping them out, supporting them in any way possible, because they could be doing 12 other things. So the fact that they want to pursue their art, I just want to make sure that they got the tools and resources they need. So yeah, definitely support them as well. Their page is Haven Value, and anything else I'm perfectly fine with.
Cool. I'll find a link to that and throw it in the description. So
absolutely appreciate that.
Shout out to my young boy Cam. He's a part of your tree under your movement, man. That's my guy, young fella. You know what I'm saying? He got some potential. That's my boy.
Yeah, shout out to Kev, man. Shout out
yes,
to Dave. Man, all of
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, hey, that's gonna do it for this episode. Ad, we appreciate you rocking with us, spending some time with us, man. Much success, continued success for you and everything that you continue to do out there in the community, just overall. And remember, everyone, please go to Bringing Down the Band's YouTube page, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, all things New Old Heads. And we appreciate the support as always. We'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Peace.
In a minute.